Hello, colleagues. Can you hear me? Hello. Hello, Maeve.
Good morning. Good morning.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I always do the weird sound check.
Yep. So,
Fantastic. Great to see. Oh, look at you with your beautiful yellow highlighter top.
green, yes. Do you know what? I'm tired and I thought, no, I'm going to wear a fresh colour to bring energy.
You are amazing. Well done, you. That's helping me enormously, Lorraine. Thank you, my darling. Brilliant to see you. Jules is in. The Dougster's in. Doug. Bit of beanie work, brother. Did I not get the beanie memo?
No, it's just a little chill today. We've got the back door open and it's just a bit chill.
You are unbelievable with the temperature, Dougster, can I say? Because it's either incredibly hot and you've basically got like about 3 items of clothing on, or it's incredibly cold and you've got a beanie on. You're a complicated man, Doug.
And an hoodie. So
And a
take it warm.
Unbelievable. Great.
Fresh air is nice, isn't it? It's nice to have
Yeah.
fresh air, yeah.
Oh, you superstar. Well done, you. Beautiful Jess is in from a lovely back outdoor location. Where are you?
Good morning, team. I'm dialing in from our beach house up in near Mackay this morning. So we've come for some R&R.
Can I say, Jess, Mackay is one of my favourite places in the planet. It's beautiful, isn't it? My good. See, I used to work at Central Queensland University, right? So we had a Mackay campus, and it was always lovely.
Yes, I did my teaching degree there.
It's amazing. Yes, so I love that campus. Can I say I was less happy visiting the Emerald campus, with the greatest respect to all our friends in Emerald. Functional toilets are sort of my baseline, Jess.
You'd love the Gladstone campus, Tara. It's right on the marina.
It is.
Ocean view.
I like
beautiful.
that. I like that one too. Gladstone's an interesting town too. Industrial shipping, very interested. Unbelievable. So look, our Adrian's back too. Now, Adrian, so I reckon I can work out where you are. So where are you? How have you been? Tell us fabulous things.
Yeah, no, I'm well. Before I get into that though, I'm originally from a sugarcane farm west of Mackay and went to CQU did a start of an arts degree. So there you go.
Did you really? So yes, it was my second job, Adrian. So I was a little bunny lecturer in what was it? Media and communication. They were the times, Adrian. And I taught wonderful students. It was a terrific gig. Terrific gig. But no, that's amazing, Adrian. So where are you? So give us the update.
Yep, in Kiribati, and yeah, just doing the do. Yeah.
How are you?
Back in tomorrow, maybe in the next 3 or 4 months. Yeah.
Oh, that's excellent, mate. Now, how you mentally traveling? You're okay? You're settled back, centered?
Yeah, no, doing well. Just writing away, using your 10 drafts to completion stuff, and just rating your YouTube videos.
Oh, how embarrassing. It's just too much of me is too much, Adrian. But look, we've got so many queries, and of course, Mary's in all our gang, beautiful Eleanor's there, which we're thrilled. We've got lots of queries, but we'll always start with you. So I'll just do a quick, and hi, Jules. Jules, you're the best in the universe. How are you, Jules? Hi, Gay. Hi, Shell. Living the dream. Shell, I didn't get the floral memo. It's a thing about the territory, isn't it? It's just like, it's like all those 1970s tea towels, Lorraine, like are living once more through
At the airport here, we can tell exactly where the planes have come from based on how people dress when they get off. And yeah.
And it's funny, Shell, I've actually learned that skill as well, because obviously when I've been picking up Jamie, and there's always like a Melbourne flight before the Brisbane, and my God, you can pick the Melbourne, can't you? Everyone very dour and black
greys.
And having their coffee. It's like I'm in Darwin, it's 38 degrees, but give me a double espresso. Unbelievable. Now, Mary, I just want to touch base with you before we open it up to any and all questions. I'm terribly excited this week. But Mary, how are you? What's been happening in the People's Republic of Western Australia?
Well, the People's Republic of Western Australia is being visited by Megan Bayliss, so we're catching up tonight.
You are not.
We are.
Oh, and look, Megan, has had where her husband's had a, family tragedy, and, a wonderful man died at 52 at work. 52. So they've had to hurtle to a funeral. So, and those of us that have done those flights, they're terrible, aren't they, Mary? When someone dies and you've got to fly, and the whole flight is just sort of catastrophic. So if you can look after our girl, I would be appreciative. Is Paul coming as well, Mary, or just the two ladies?
Yeah, no, our husbands are going to meet each other as well, so that's good.
This is like a 1970s sitcom, Mary. Unbelievable. But anyway, so how's the thesis? Because we missed you last week. What's been happening, Mary?
Well, I did thesis boot camp, and I did write my last 2 chapters.
You didn't.
I did. So I pretty much have a full draft, which is except for the conclusion. So, which is good. Even though I still have to do some more oral history research, but I thought, I'll just write down what oral history I've got so far. So at least that can, it's starting to form into. I'm starting to see the pattern of it, if you get what I mean, when you write it up.
Look, I really do. In conclusions, we may want to talk about how you write conclusions. Depends how anyone feels today. Well, we've got lots of requests that have come in, but we'll always open it with you. But if we want to talk about how to write a conclusion to help Mary, it is a particular gift. And obviously I'm very conscious for Julie as well, that Julie was sort of doing the intros and the outros. So #living the dream. But let's open it up first. So, and oh, look, I'm going to start crying. I've just seen Anvita and Jen together. Is anyone else just crying? Is anyone else just starting to cry uncontrollably? And Vita's hair's down so we can all relax, all is well with the world. So how are you two troublemakers? Are you both all right?
We've got matching haircuts. Did you notice? I had hair to my waist, but I've cut it all off.
See, I've only ever seen you with it back, Dulcie, because I've only ever seen you on a screen. Oh, right. So that's unbelievable. So Jen, how are you traveling this week? Your testimony and commentary last week changed people's lives. I can't tell you how many emails arrived. Hi, Carl. So how are you feeling this week, Jen?
Yeah, look, I'm pretty good. I sent you a begging email yesterday because you had looked at my draft thesis, like, if you've got time, please, can you just look at this paper that I'm getting ready to submit? I got my first comments back. I got the comments back yesterday on the first paper that I've submitted for publication.
Yes.
So I submitted it a couple of months ago and I got 3 lots of reviewers' comments back. And, when I saw the email, my heart sank through the floor, and then I opened it. And it was the usual thing, like 2 of the 3 people said quite opposite things to each other, like, so you think, oh, don't they read each other's comments? Obviously not. But the comments were really encouraging, and it seemed like if I make a few changes, this Tier 1 journal will publish my paper. And I sent it through to my supervisors, and they were like, this is really good. This is really strong feedback, like positive. So that did my spirits.
Oh, Jen, look, I'm thrilled. And Darren, I got that email from you in the middle of academic board yesterday. So I've got, I think, 50 pages left of the wonderful Chris's thesis to read this afternoon. And then I'm straight into Jen, checking if the Dougster sent me anything. Where's Dougster gone? We'll check if the Dougster sent me anything. I always say, hi, Doug. I always just go, I try and search for Doug, because Doug's sending me stuff all the time. I go, Doug, is there anything from Doug? Is there anything waiting for me, Doug, for me to read from you?
I'm still waiting for the article that I sent through. What?
Oh, see, I was waiting for you to give us instructions on that, whether you want to write with you, because I sent back your work. And what do you want to do with the article, Dougster? What do you want to do?
Well, feedback first to see where you think it's going.
Okay.
And what you guys could add to it, and just go ahead and we'll do a soft whatever.
Great stuff. So I'll give you feedback first, and you decide if you need us or not, Doug.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine. Living the dream. And then I'll move to beautiful Jen. So that's terrific, colleagues. I'm really excited by this. And Lorraine's straight in. So Lorraine, what's happening, mate?
I just want to say, Tara, this is the highlight of my week. It's Friday morning. I kid you not, all week, I just cannot wait to be with this family for the encouragement, just the love, the support, and the wisdom. Thank you so much. It just makes me feel so emotional to see everybody's beautiful faces.
Me too.
And yeah, that's just me for now.
And Lorraine, you've been with us basically the whole year. And darling, it's the craziest thing because when I opened it, Digital Office Hours, I thought it'd be me and maybe somebody like Anvita would come in one week in like 300 and go, Tara, I've got a question. Can you answer this as the dean? That's what I thought it would be, like an office, and someone would come in and ask a question and leave, and I'll be sort of sitting here staring at myself and the dog for 50 minutes. So who knew it was going to be this? It's a weird little genre of stuff, isn't it?
It's just honestly, it's so important. It's really, yeah. Thank you. Thank
Well,
you.
Lorraine,
Thank you.
Lorraine, what if you think, and we're going to do this for Mary and for Julie. First, we'll see if there's any urgent questions, and then we might move to writing a conclusion, because Adrian, that might help you too. Obviously, you're doing the 10 drafts. We might go to the conclusion, and there are particular characteristics, but let's open it up first. So, Carls, how are you with your new hair, by the way? Your new hair's looking great, mate.
Thank you so much. I'm still getting used to it, but I keep still thinking I'm dark, and they go, "Oh, I love your hair," and they go, "Oh yeah, I'm going blonde, don't I?" Yeah.
Now, how's your stuff going? You all right?
Really good. Yeah, really good place. Your job's going great. I'm ready to present next week as my conference in Adelaide, so I get to go on a flight. I've never been to Adelaide, so.
Oh, it's exciting.
Coffee. Wherever you eat that
coffee.
Message, we'll email.
Coffee. Yes. I'm in town. I land Sunday afternoon, but then I'm going to go see the zoo.
Of course you are.
Function.
Zoo?
But yeah, maybe
the zoo?
Wednesday afternoon if you're free. If you don't mind coming
Make
in.
sure I'm free.
That'd be fabulous.
Make sure you get a picture. That's unbelievable. Adelaide, not saying anything, Doug. Right.
But can I first say, a bit like Lorraine too, this is my highlight of the week. This has grounded me the last 12 months. And I remember coming to the first one and thinking, oh, I'll see what this is like. I'm pretty excited, but now it's booked in. Work has it in my calendar. I'm unavailable this hour. Get out of my road. I need to be here.
Well, I mean, Carls, as I said, we have invented something. I mean, we have invented something. When this program was just reaccredited, so we had 5 external reviewers, they all 5 reports talked about Digital Office Hours as being this thing. And a couple of the reviewers said they started just sort of getting a sense of it so they could write about it in their report. And they sort of became addicted to it and watched it all the way through, and still do. Like, I still get commentary from the review. So you're all very, very famous, as you know.
And as external people, it is fabulous because we don't have we probably have an official avenue, but I won't go there. But this is where we get our help. This is where we get our support. Ask the questions that we just don't know, because you can't go and ask parents or hubbies or friends, because they don't do this.
But also, Carls, you're a blessing to CDU, and I know Shell thinks this too, that, you know, in Darwin, the gift of having all these wonderful people contribute to the community is incredibly valuable for us as well. So this is brilliant. Now, I'm about to move to how to write a conclusion, but are there any, I always try and open it up first, so if there's urgent, oh my goodness me stuff. Has anyone got an urgent, oh my goodness me query? Oh, that's bloody silence. Oh, go, Gay, darling, talk to me.
Can I just ask how you're going with your accommodation?
Oh, it's a cup of cold sick, mate. It's a cup of cold sick. No, it's so the colleagues that don't know what occurred, I arrived back from Aotearoa, New Zealand at 12:25 a.m. on Sunday morning. You can imagine 12:25 a.m. in Darwin. Colleagues that know Darwin, it's a fun time of the night. And so I walked into my house and it was all underwater, and about a third of the ceiling plaster was on the floor. A whole series of the rooms were a bit sparky because the water got all sparked up with electricity. Yeah, so what actually happened was a water heater that was supposedly in the roof of the second floor exploded. And the property manager, I said, oh, look, I've heard from a neighbour there's a bit of water. I sent him an email on the Thursday. He didn't bother coming because he was a bit busy. And so then Sunday, of course, the thing had exploded and it's a mess. Look, I'm not walking through flood at this point. So they brought in pumps to get rid of the fluid. But yeah, so there's no real sealing. It's a bit complicated and everything smells a bit weird. everything smells a bit weird. So I'm sort of washing clothes and they still smell a bit weird. So look, I'm alive.
Can I say, I think that technical term for that smell is funky. It's a funky smell.
And of course, colleagues from the territory know, of course, the water, the heat creates the mold. So it's, oh my goodness me. So Jules, I got most upset because I did bring some posh frocks up, and of course they got their bottom 6 inches wet of the wool and the satin, and of course they then weighed down with the water and all got pulled down into the water. So these beautiful frocks and cloaks, but I think they're going to be okay. So yes, thank you for asking, Gay. I'm alive. And particularly thank you to Kylie for looking after Jamie, who I think was within about 12 seconds of getting on a flight, I think, and you calmed him down. So thank you, Kyles. But yes, look,
I'm surprised you didn't. I half expected a day later to say he was in Darwin. Like, yeah.
That's because
I think you both needed that reassurance that we'll put it in steps. There's a process to this.
Yeah, no, that's why you were brilliant. Yeah, and so you probably kept Jamie alive and in New Zealand. So I'm grateful for that. But yes, okay, thank you, darling. So brilliant. But colleagues, let's therefore move to the conclusion, if you're comfortable, because I think that sort of helps everybody, even Shell, sort of on her journey. Where is it going? So a conclusion is obviously the end of the thesis, but it is very, very important for the examiner. And I'll tell you what we're after. Short conclusions invariably result in a C grade or a D grade. So if you've got a short conclusion, which is under 10 pages, that means you're going to get major corrections or you're going to get a revise and resubmit. So it is important that you finish well. There are 2 schools of thought, and I'm comfortable with both depending on your discipline. There is the argument the conclusion doesn't introduce new material, and we'll talk about how to handle that particular thing. Oh, and V's gone, doesn't introduce new material. There is, though, another argument particularly useful in the humanities and the social sciences, I think, whereby you go meta. So the conclusion is the space where you really draw all the beautiful Jen plait bits together. You draw the hair together, you plait it up beautifully, and you explain why it matters. So both of those strategies work, but what a conclusion must do is it must confirm the significant original contribution to knowledge. Because, examiners read the thesis, remember we've talked about the Chianti read, Kyles, so they're in chapter 5, and they go, good luck everybody, how's it going, where am I, what's my name? But examiners read the abstract, the intro, and the conclusion in a riveting fashion. So it really matters to them. And if they're not convinced by the abstract, the intro, and the conclusion, you are stuffed. Whatever else happens, you're stuffed. So what you can do, a conclusion does have a bit that's a summary. So don't think it's not a summary. And look, you probably do, Jules, do that, in chapter 1, in chapter 2, in chapter 3, do that, but not too much because we've just read 100,000 words, right? So make sure that you say, this is what we've done. But what you need to do as quickly as you can, Lorraine, is go to why you've done it. So what have I done? Why have I done it is the key. You've often heard me say, Mary, why do I give a damn? What the conclusion must do for the examiner is, okay, Mary, I've just given you 3 days of my life. At the end of my life, I'm going to need those 3 days. So why have I spent this time with you? Why should I care, right? So that question has to be answered. Yes, it's the SOC, and I would go through, Adrian, the significant original contribution to knowledge. I would go through each word. That makes sure that you've nailed down the epistemology, the ontology, and the methodology. Be clear on that. Explain why it matters. And also, if this is helpful, Jess, this might be particularly important for yours. Why now? Why do we need this research right now? Why did this thesis not exist 5 years ago? Why would it not be timely in 5 years' time? What's about now that makes this research important? And for some colleagues, and I think, Julie, this is a great example for you, and I think, Jen, for you as well, the where of the research matters, the positionality of the research, where it has been written. Remembering that, for my students particularly, I always have international examiners. So if you're writing in Mackay, if you're writing in Adelaide, if you're writing in Brisbane, and they're reading it from Las Vegas, they're reading it from Dubai, why should they care about Brisbane? Why should they? It's a good question. Why should they care about Adelaide? Explain why who you are and where you are is part of the SOC and has rendered the conclusion meaningful. Now, how am I going, Shell? Because obviously you teach this stuff in your day job. How does that conclusion operate in terms of how you teach and work with scaffolding and pathway programs? Oh, Shell's ignoring me. Yeah.
Oh no, not at all. I'm not even ignoring. I'm thinking. So I'm actually listening as a student, and so everything resonates, of course. And I think like the important thing is it's like any good advice. So everything resonates with me from what you're saying, and it's good just to be here as a student listening and kind of being reminded of how that is represented in this space. So yeah, it's sounding all fantastic from my perspective, and yes.
And yes, Shell, but can I say, Shell, from my colleagues in the Territory, let alone my colleagues like Adrian doing this incredible Pacific work, this is rare. There are so few people that live in the Northern Territory. There are so few people that do proper Pacifica work. Really claim that. Really sit in that power, sit in that space and make it meaningful, okay? Because again, think about a remarkable scholar, in Dubai, I've just contacted a wonderful examiner in Osaka, right? So they'll probably have to look where Darwin is on the map, right? In Osaka, and explain to them the resonance of that, why it matters. Occupy space, Shell. Occupy the space, claim the space, make it meaningful. Straight to legendary Mary. How are we going, Mary?
We're going very well, and this is wonderful advice. Thank you. I just wanted to ask, is there any difference, because I'm doing a master's by research, is there any difference? Because I won't necessarily be talking about a SOC, even though I am bringing new knowledge to this, the subject I'm talking about, but is there a difference in a master's with the conclusion?
Mary, there is, mate. And thank you for always offering that corrective. See, the problem we've got, Mary, is the masters. Now, you know how much I love a master's. I love them so much. I've done 4 of them. But the trouble is master's degrees are a very, very tiny component of higher degrees now, way under 10%. So that's why we tend to, it's unbelievable, mate. And can I say the Master of Science, nothing left, because everyone goes straight from honours or a pathway program to a PhD. But as you've rightly said, the masters, the difference between a master's and a PhD is clear. A master's synthesises knowledge. A PhD offers an original contribution to knowledge. Having said that, Mary, you have offered originality profoundly. And just as a mate of yours reflecting back on that, the information you've deployed, the capacity to create a really innovative and courageous interpretation against the odds, against the narrative, really against what the institution of higher education wants of its students. So your positionality, your courage through the data collection, data analysis, and courageous interpretation. That's what I would be focusing on in the conclusion, because your master's, as I've said to you for the last year, could very easily have been a PhD. And if I'd been your supervisor, I would have been stroppy and asked you to upgrade. And you would have ignored me, but I still think I would have been right. Does that help a little bit? But I would be, mate, but in terms of scope and scale, it's a good question. I mean, a master's is half the length of a PhD. A good PhD conclusion is certainly 20 pages, 22 pages, sometimes going up to 25, a master's. Get it to 12 if you can, Mary. It's got to be a big screaming end, right? It's like it's the encore of the thesis. It's got to be, leave them with a bang, not a whimper. Like grab them by the throat and shove them against a wall. That's what a conclusion does. Hello, boom. It matters. It matters, right? Straight to Julie, our classy correspondent. Oh, I'm loving that. Is that a top Jules, or is that oh, that's very trendy. Oh, I'm loving a bit of scarf work. That's nice. So Jules, where are you on this? Because obviously you're writing everything at the moment.
Doug and I are obviously in the hills because it's freezing cold here. I just wanted to ask you, and you answered the one question, 20 to 25 pages. Does the intro balance, is there a sense of proportionality between the intro and the conclusion? Because I'm going for a big intro, maybe split in chapters.
Yeah. Yeah, look, it can have proportionality. Most often they don't, but what you've got to have is some sense of balance. What happens, Jules, is most people are terribly excited and write a very, very long introduction. In your thesis, you have to. Some people put, in some ways, the framing literature or configuring the gap in the research in the intro, right? So then it's a bloody long intro. So be cool with that. But what happens, Jules, is students get tired and they basically, and I've seen this, they finish with 3 pages. So they go, it's been great, everybody. I'm off to have a gin and tonic. And their conclusion is 3 pages. And you go, girlfriend, major corrections. And you know what the correction is? Write a bloody conclusion, right? So they are, probably the conclusion is smaller, Jules, but probably in the experimental sciences, so for our hard-end crew, they're at their most even. And having said that, though, in the theoretical humanities, the conclusions are very long because they're very meta. They go hard, right? They go hard. So with you, Jules, you're always going to have a big, big, big intro, but also in some ways you've got a lot of data and information about grabbing someone around the neck and shove them against a wall. So I think your conclusion's quite an aggressive, robust one. That's the advice I'd offer you, Jules, is really, really claim it. Right, I've got to get you, when you're writing in the courageous zone, going, come on, this matters. You know, this stuff has to stop. I mean, that's what I'd be doing in your conclusion. It's like, look what we've just been through. This is a disgrace. This conclusion signals the end of this disgrace and the next chapter of leadership and understandings of merit. Is that a goer?
Thank you.
Oh, brilliant. Now, where are we? How am I helping our Brisbane squad? So, Anvita and Jen, is any of this working for you both?
100%, Donna, thank you. We're taking notes.
Oh, I'm an idiot though. But Jen,
but did you say under 10, your conclusion should be under 10 pages or over 10 pages?
Over. Under 10 people.
Really, I heard what I wanted to hear and I wrote under 10 pages. And I was like, oh, I think she didn't say that.
Yeah, I live like that, Jen. I just wander around the world assuming that people agree with me. And I tell you what, I'm wrong 99% of the time. But so, Jen, it's quite challenging in the health sciences, nursing, midwifery in particular. And I've got to get you both into the space where you realise the significance of it, right? Because these are new disciplines for research in the PhD. You've come to the party later than other disciplines. So it's about you really claiming the innovation, right? Epistemologically, ontologically, and methodologically. And if it helps, you know, sort of put in those meta headings just to get yourself organised, to make it over 10 pages, and then you'll get there. What do you think, Anvita?
I really like that, Tara. Like, I'm not close to writing my conclusion yet. I kind of know. My conclusion was one of the first things that I actually tried writing because I wanted to see where this was going. And it was one of those things that, is this going to end up where I think it's going to end up? And I'd done that ages ago, but it was just dot points. I haven't yet reached the part where I'm going to be writing my conclusion, but this is definitely helpful.
And Anvita, darling, what I would say, and this is very important for everybody, whether you're in week 1, so with Eleanor, and right at the start, have a conclusion file. Because every now and again you'll wake up, you'll have that Melbourne double espresso and you'll suddenly work out your own name and what you're actually doing. And then you'll lose it for 3 weeks, but you go, oh, that's what I'm doing. Right. So for God's sake, grab that sentence and to throw it in the conclusion.
I have like these bullet point, this list going.
And Vita, darling, that'll make a real difference because one day you'll get up and you'll start writing that list. Oh, you superstar. Well done, you. Shall we find out legendary Lorraine? Now, Lorraine, where are we for you, darling? Because yours is so, significant is such an important word for you.
It really is, yeah. So I know numbers shouldn't matter, but I'm at 97,000 words. So I've got 2.5 chapters to go. I'm really hoping I'll smash the 100. Not that the numbers, right? But it is a bit of a big deal because it's going, okay, this has really got some shape now. So you said, Tara, the conclusion are roughly 10 pages. I love page or number guides because it just, yeah. The discussion, have you got sort of a guesstimate on that sort of size, what that should be? I'll tell you what my fear is, not repeating. I don't want to be repetitive in the discussion, the conclusion, and through the paper. So it's getting that balance.
This is the great challenge for the social science theses. This is the great challenge, right? Because you go, well, because you exhaust yourself, Lorraine, you've put everything in the discussion, right? And then you go, what's left in the conclusion? And that's why the conclusions are short. So just make sure the discussion is about the data and the interpretation of the data. So again, discussions can be in social sciences quite long. So they can be, I mean, bloody hell, I'm reading Amanda's at the moment. Amanda's discussion is about 18,000 words at this point. We're getting it down. I'm sort of aiming for about 15. But Lorraine, how it may help you draft it is when you're reading your discussion, make it focused on the data and the interpretation. And the conclusion is the big picture stuff. So the stuff that's going, right, so why does the thesis matter? Why does the data matter? Why does the interpretation matter? Why now? The discussion is very bespoke and in the thesis, and the conclusion is very much outward to knowledge. Does that help? So the discussion is inward,
very much.
The conclusion is outward to knowledge.
Love it. Thank you.
Oh, we live in the dream. Oh, and Vita's back. G'day, mate.
Just a quick question, Tara, because of the fact, so I'm doing my PhD within the field of health economics and health services research.
Wow.
A lot of the PhDs that I've been consulting, looking at the way it's laid out and the way I've laid out mine is we have an introduction, you have a literature review, and then it's laid out by study.
Yeah.
So each study then has, its own introduction, or like the results, the discussion, and a conclusion.
Yes.
So then what comes into the main discussion of the thesis? Because what I'm doing is running that golden thread through all my studies and explaining how they all work with each other and why it was important to do it that way. So would that then be the focus of it? Because
correct. So in this circumstance, you've done some of the discussion work in each of your golden thread chapters, but then you've actually got a discussion that has to, remember I often talk about, and Vita, put the problem into the work. You've got to grab your examiner by the hand and walk with them. And that's what your discussion is doing as the self-standing chapter, right? Very common in health economics, very, very common in allied health more generally. So you've got all your bespoke separate studies, align them, mate. You've got your golden thread. Now get a needle attached to it. And what the discussion is doing is taking that thread and making something with it. Okay. So bring them together for me. And then the conclusion does that outward. This is why we're here. This is why it matters. So in some ways, your discussion's even more important because you've got what can be bespoke studies, and the challenge in Vita, what examiners do with health economics, allied health, is they say the studies are fragmented. So a good discussion chapter shows them it's not fragmented, mate. You followed me to this point. Let me show you how they all fit together like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic.
Are we winning?
That really helps. Thank you.
Oh, that is fantastic. Oh, we've seen beautiful Carolyn in. Oh, go Dougster. Carolyn, darling, I'm handling your meeting as soon as I can. Dougster, hello.
Hi. Bree is after an audience for her CAC presentation. It was in the chat, so I just thought if she has got time she could verbalise that. And
oh, Bree, darling, have you got a date? Have you got a date, Angel?
No, we don't have a date yet because we're waiting on one assessor just confirming whether they're available.
Oh, fantastic, darling. Well, we'll all be there with bells on. Don't worry about it, Angel. The moment you've got a date, send the link. It'll be by Zoom probably, and we'll be all there with bells on. You'll be fantastic. Don't worry, Angel.
Well, I need to run through it because I've run through it. So I ran through it with my partner, and I think what someone was saying here is I lost him within like 2 slides. He goes, it's too deep and it's too much and I don't understand.
So what she's after, Tara, is somebody who can help, who can be her audience to practice it. Yes, Bree?
Yeah, and so when I ran through with one of my supervisors, again, she's sort of saying that, so I think I struggle to express my ideas in a way that my audience understand.
Yeah. So Bree, darling, the key thing with the COC, and people go on and on about them being long. I think this is nonsense. When people go, a COC is 30 minutes or 45 minutes, this is rubbish. I get people to focus on 15 or 20 minutes. They've got your assessors have got a bloody big document. They know whether you can do it or not, right? So they know from the document. So the presentation is simply checking for research integrity. Is it your work? So that's why you're speaking it, actually. But also making sure you can bring out the crucial stuff. So Bree, all I do is I would make sure in your first 2 minutes, you answer the crucial question, why are we here? And what are you doing?
Okay, and I think I've done that.
So therefore people go, what's going on? We're going, well, this is what we're doing and this is why we're here. So
okay. All right. Yep, I would love to run through that with some people. And I think Kylie and Julie have suggested. So yeah, I just want to run through just with 1 or 2 people. Would you like to run through it with me, Doug?
Actually be good for you, Doug, because you're going to be you're going to be doing it shortly.
I'll let us know somehow, and I missed half that conversation because I was watching the chat. Sorry.
I'm not even reading the chat at the moment. But yeah, I think that what's so good about this group is I'm with my peers and I'm with my colleagues and we're all doing this together, and I'd love to run through it with you.
And look, that'll help, Doug. Doug, you can be me. I'll try and get there, Bree. The problem is I'm reading about 400,000 words a week.
I understand that. Yes, I can see why you wouldn't. Yeah, you don't have time.
And I'll get Amanda through. I'll try and get there. But Dougster, you represent me. So remember, short, sharp, pithy. Why do we give a damn? And then ask questions.
What's the date, Bree, that you want to do this?
Well, sometime before. Okay, so we have some dates. My supervisor has suggested to me that the assessors only need a week to read my document. So potentially on the 2nd of May is when I'll present. Otherwise, I think the 15th was a date that I suggested, if the 2nd's not. So sometime before the 2nd, which is in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh, fantastic. We'll organise that, Bree. That's beautiful. Not worried. And darling, you'll be great. As I said, just don't bury the lead. The thing is, grab them by the throat at the start. Hi, everybody. This is me. This is the topic. This is why we're here. This is why it matters. Ta.
Thank you.
Fantastic. And look who wants to have a chat with us, the wonderful Bev. Bev, how are you going, you legendary human? I'm loving that burgundy top. That's a lovely colour.
I came on here because I'm drowning in reading in methodologies. It's my first time on here. However, I just want to go back to something you mentioned earlier about because I'm doing a master's by research.
Right.
And I have had a lot of people say to me, why aren't I doing a PhD? And you just clarified earlier. So I've often thought they meant the scope of what I was doing was so big, it was going to take so long. But are people talking about the fact that there's a SOC? It's not just synthesizing knowledge, it's actually going to make a contribution.
Yeah. I mean, Darlin one, and I'm sort of summoning some of my late husband, Steve Redhead, on this as well. We both believe desperately in a master's. Can I say, Jamie, Steve Redhead and I, we all did master's degrees and did PhDs very quickly because we did a master's degree. But there's a few reasons why the master's is declining. The first reason is, Bev, a master's takes 2 years, a PhD takes 3 years. Why wouldn't you take an extra year and do a PhD? That's the first reason. But the second reason is about the topic. That, as you've rightly said, you've used that beautiful phrase, scope and scale, which examiners use. If you've got a thesis where there is originality, where obviously right at the start, we'll talk about methodology in a second, but if you've sort of got a sense you're doing something original, then that's a PhD.
Right. I thought PhDs took 7 years before I started this process, I might add. So I thought it was a massive leap from Masters by Research to PhD. And then,
Angel, it's 1 year. And so as Steve and I, when we were advising our students, always used to say, darling one, for 1 year, life's too short, particularly noting that, you know, the overwhelming majority of PhD students now are women over the age of 40. And so you ain't got 7 years, girlfriend, you got a life to live. And so why wouldn't you do a 3-year PhD? So that's the other argument. But as you've said, it's got to be topic related. If the topic is synthesizing knowledge, then it's a master's. If you've got
I've not heard that before. Yeah, that clarifies it really well.
Oh, that's the difference. There's one difference. A PhD has a SOC, a master's is synthesizing knowledge. That's the difference. And therefore that difference creates the differing length and the differing time of candidature.
That's super helpful. Thank you.
Oh, that's brilliant. Now tell us what's happening with the damn methodology, Bree. What's happening?
I was told early on, don't worry about it. I've got my confirmation of candidature second week in May, so I need to have my written in within the next couple of weeks. So I have, I'm coming up to Darwin for it too. So I have left it till later, and because I really want to honour Indigenous methodologies in it and Yolngu ways, it's not going to be as simple as just picking one and sticking with it, because I need to be flexible. So it's more about how I'm going to find the wording for that. So I think I've settled on, grounded theory and drawing on Indigenous methodologies, but for instance, going and looking at strict interview methods is not going to actually work with what I'm going to be doing with Yolngu people, because it needs to be along their ways. So it needs to be flexible. So I think it's the whole thing. I think I'm going to have to say drawing on lots of things rather than sticking to a method and methodology.
Bev, if it helps you, and obviously, Mary, you come and correct me, but Bev, if it helps you, methodology, ontology, epistemology, how we deploy them is a colonizing trope, a colonizing series of concepts. Now, I have a whole series of arguments that the PhD by its very definition is colonizing. So you can't sort of go, oh, look, well, because that's what a PhD is. So, so it's messy. But what I would do, Bev, is I would render your master's or PhD, if you're doing it, make it a meta master's, and use that phrase if it's useful to you. So part of what you're doing methodologically is a meta master's reflecting on the very nature of doing a master's. And so therefore what you're actually realizing in college, we've talked about this in the past, that when one has the great gift of working with Indigenous ideas, topics, humans, environments, what actually happens is methodology and ontology dance in a very different, unusual way. And so whereas in other topics, we can do the ontological discussion and then lead to epistemology and methodology, actually what you're finding is ontology is shaping and configuring everything else that you do.
Yeah. No, I've even written in there that the irony is not lost on me that in wanting to decolonize research, I'm, at a colonial institution. But one of the methodologies I've found is decolonizing ethnography. And so, there's a lot of adaptations to the methodology. So, but I don't want to be criticized or people think, oh, you just can't pick one. You're just going too many, because it is too hard to pick if you're going to let the Yolngu guide what you do when you're in there.
Yeah, I mean, putting my death doula hat on, our great trope is hold the space. And in many ways that works incredibly well when we're thinking about, obviously I think it's very, very difficult to get out of a colonial environment. So when people talk about post-colonialism and decolonizing, I always just sort of take a breath. But what the empowered can do is hold the space for difference, hold the space for listening, hold the space for challenge, resistance, defiance, transformation, or in Mary's case, rebellion. Hold the space so that suddenly the rebellion that already existed, and we didn't have the methodology and the ontology to actually see it as a rebellion, we're actually then able to understand it. So too often we see the massacre, but actually every massacre has this incredible resistive propulsion within it. We just lack the methodology to understand it. So if we hold the space, then that might come. Is that helping, Bev?
Yeah, it's all about working respectfully within the space and understanding that, and not necessarily having to, just some things you read about, talk about if you choose that methodology, the methods have to align with that, everything has to align all the way, whereas I don't think that's necessarily going to work with me in one particular. So I'll draw
And also, can I say, thinking about the argument the other way, they don't all align. They don't even align in experimental physics, right? So I think there's this notion that these things all come together in this way. That's rubbish. If we knew where research was going to go, it wouldn't be research.
Yeah.
It'd be Bold and the Beautiful, right? But we're not doing Bold and the Beautiful, Ridge and Brook. We're not doing that. This is research. And so, you know what? Weird stuff happens, and we just got to hang on and have the intellectual ability to interpret the change, the difference, the transformation, the dynamism, the agility.
Yeah, and I think remembering that this is a proposal of what I'm hoping to do, it may well change. And then in my thesis, it would come back and say that the changes have been made and why, and then what it is, and it will be more clear.
Oh, that's right. And Bev, can I just say, again, summoning my late husband, it used to make Steve and I absolutely crazy, particularly when we came back from England, that what the pressure that was put on students in the Australian system at the COC, because Australian academics haven't done oral exams, haven't done the examination at the end, they tend to sort of pretend the examination they would do at the end, they'll do a year in. It's crazy. All we're doing in the COC is saying, is this project sound? Is there something there? And can this human do it? If we get a yes to both of those questions, we're winning. That's it. That's all the COC is.
Thank you. Very helpful.
Oh, you're brilliant. Now, Adrian, talk to me. Have I misspoken again? Correct me, Adrian. Oh, sound, brother. Mute, mate.
Not at all, Tara. You would never misspeak. I just wanted to add, Bev. I mean, it sounds like you're across it. And in my experience, I'm doing something very similar to you in that it sounds like it, working within an Indigenous culture and having to meld my methodology based and be as responsive as possible to the process as I was going along with my co-researchers. But yeah, so I had to choose a methodology that was, well, the one I chose was practice-based research because it was more aligned to what we were doing, but it was also acknowledged by the people as a porous enough methodology that was able to be performative and iterative throughout the process so that I could continue to be as responsive as possible to the changes and to continue to learn. And that relates then to positionality. And I took on a relational positionality so that I could keep on going. And again, in the West, we keep focusing on positionality statements, but they suggest that a position is fixed, and it's not. It keeps changing throughout the process. It does put you in a difficult position when you are writing things up if you take that iterative and responsive approach, because you've got all these pieces of the puzzle and they're just not going to fit together. But eventually it does. You just keep on going through the cycle. But anyway, yeah, I hope that helps. But it sounds like you're on the right track. And as you said, you just, and as Tara said as well, you're at that stage where you're thinking about this stuff, and the fact that you're thinking about it, it should be enough.
Thank you. Did you say practice-based methodology?
Yeah. But I'd suggest looking at a performative paradigm or a performative approach as well. But I mean, if there are existing Indigenous methodologies that you're able to use and that others have perhaps used before, then by all means, if you have the permission and stuff, go for it.
Brilliant. No, super helpful. Thank you very much.
And so, Bev, some phrases to look for are practice-led research or practice-based research. They're different, but they both could be useful. But can I say, Adrian, I feel so much smarter after hearing you speak, brother, honestly. And I'm obsessed by the word porous, obviously not just as an indication of my current living experience, but can I say the nature of the porous PhD, I've had a file open, Adrian, for I think about 10 years, because at some point I'm going to write a piece called the porous PhD, because that notion of undulation, I think digitally is so accurate for where we are now. But how you use that word, I'm going to watch this over and over and again. I think that's brilliant, Adrian. Brilliant, brother. Oh, thanks for that. Yeah, it's fine.
Thanks, Tara.
Yeah, and mate, so just to touch base with you before we go down to beautiful Carolyn. So, mate, in terms of the conclusion and the thesis itself, how are you feeling now? Are you feeling ready to rumble now?
Yeah, look, very extremely helpful, but to be honest, I'm still kind of in the early stages of the structure in terms of my drafting and stuff. But as you were talking, I was basically translating that into an exegesis and how, you know, what would 10 pages be for an exegesis, things like that. But no, it's all really, really helpful. And if anything, it just continues to clarify the importance of the SOC and how to keep bringing that in throughout. And what you were saying about the inward and the outward was just, you know, perfect because I'm in my discussion. So I'm really structuring, but getting into that discussion as well. So really, really helpful.
No, brilliant, mate. And as you know, the challenge with the exegetical component, and can I say exegeses are getting longer too. So suddenly exegeses that should be at about 40 are suddenly hitting 50 and also going to 55. But they are a bonsai, so that everything we've talked about has to be there, just in a smaller configuration, brother. But just amazing, amazing, mate, amazing. And look, we'll just touch base before we talk to beautiful Caroline for our final few minutes. And I think, Caroline, we're going to talk about how to make the corrections for a thesis, but we'll talk about that. But can we just touch base with Megan? Megan, darling, how are you? How's Paul? Is everybody okay?
We're all okay, but we're here for another 11 days, I think. The funeral's actually not until the 23rd. So we're moving down to Dunsborough tomorrow. Yeah. There's some advantages to having family. So we'll move down there just until the funeral. It's not worth going back to Norfolk Island. It's too expensive. It's too much wear and tear on us all. So yeah, we're just here. And we're both working from here. So we have to take turns at this table to get our work done.
I understand that, Mary. I could live in Dunsborough. Dunsborough's nice, isn't it, Mary?
Yes, it's a very beautiful part of the world, and it's very near where I am researching. So I go down there quite often to talk to Bill Webb and his sister Nina, the traditional owners that are helping me, guiding my research.
Oh, that is...
Mary, tonight perhaps we'll have a discussion about when you can come down, and we will have a research session together at Dunsborough.
That sounds great.
And can I say the beverages in Dunsborough are also of high quality.
And also there's a very, very famous bakery there.
It's posh as, mate. It is posh as. I've never expressed this thought to Professor Quinton, but I'm sort of heading to Dunsborough. I'm sort of, just so you know, I'm sort of going randomly around the world a few times, but I'm either heading to Dunsborough or Busselton. But of course, Jamie Quinton, because he's from Western Sydney, he's got no understanding of these locations and will be Googling them shortly. Is that correct, Jamie? Yeah, no. Yeah.
Just come over for a visit, Jamie. You'll love it.
I think that's a no, Tara.
And a no? Is that a no? Oh,
yeah, no.
Can I just say also that today's digital office hours has been pretty much organising our social calendars of where we're retiring and where we're meeting up also. It's been great.
It's been great. So Jamie, just put Dunsborough into Google so that my dreams and hopes are not completely destroyed. As we move to the beautiful Caroline, and look, we're so thrilled with Caroline. Caroline Dunn, obviously when I got your email, I was in academic board, so I couldn't reply. But Caroline, darling, how are you going? And we're doing the corrections, aren't we? So what's happening, Caroline? This is exciting.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I've done so I had a 3 examiner because I had a disagreement, indeterminate outcome initially. And so the 3rd one came in and everything's fine. So I've got a bunch of corrections. I've just worked through examiner 1 and 3, their annotations in the full length of the thesis. And that's taken over 40 hours just to work through that, attend to really tiny things as much as an italicized parenthesis, to providing more definition for one of my SOCs. And so I feel like I've accomplished a lot there. There's a bunch of other stuff which I know is just really, I can't attend to it, but I've made a decision and I've got it set up today, and I'll be in the writing session next. Right. Chapter 1, the introduction, I remember, Tara, you said 5 pages. So I'm going back to that introduction in chapter 1. I'm going to massage that, which will attend to multiple different comments from the 3 examiners. And then I'm going to look at chapter 7, which wasn't really appreciated, even though my research was, the design was fairly open for various reasons. And I ended up with a review of literature in chapter 7. It hasn't been easy for people to accept. So I'm going to deconstruct that a little bit and massage it a little bit and package it. And that, I think, will bring me up to responding to the main sort of observations. But the constructive criticism has been fantastic. You were talking in your video yesterday, Tara, about learning to write and failure, although I wouldn't use that word. It was just, no, I don't know about that. This has really made me look back again and start to think, okay, well, right, I've got a constructive suggestion here that I can take in and shift some of my writing around. So I'm feeling really good about it, of course, knowing that it's through, but this is a little bit of a sort of, oh, when is it ever going to be over part, but it's all good.
So I've got some advice that may help you a lot. So firstly, this, you're doing exactly right. This is fantastic.
Yep.
How I would handle, was it your chapter 7 where you did this great work and no one seemed to recognize that it was a literature review? In the intro, say, to ensure that the literature and the gap in research is covered, you have configured an iterative literature review. Use the phrase.
Where's my pen?
But darling, it's recorded. But Anvita went, oh yeah, there it is, an iterative literature. Yeah, girlfriend.
Iterative
literature review. So put that in the introduction. So it's like, surprise, you think you've had a literature review. There's a bonus package. So and the argument is, Carolyn, noting your field, and obviously I've read your thesis, that it's a fast-moving field. So that means an iterative literature review was required to ensure that the gap was sustained through the project. So if you talk about that in the introduction, you've covered a series of problems.
You mean in the introduction to chapter 7 or in the introduction to chapter 1?
In the introduction, tell the hood what's coming, and use that phrase in the introduction to chapter 7 as well, that this is, hello, Jane, this is the iterative literature review and that's why it's here. And Carolyn, darling, one, the other thing to think about is, and I'm obsessed by helping people with the corrections. Remember, you've got to take every examiner seriously. You can't just go, I disagree with you. You're rubbish. You can't.
Oh, no.
No, you don't. But like so many people go, you're rubbish. You need to go away now. I'm amazing. And so what you need to do is, you don't have to agree with the examiners, but you have to address the examiner's queries. So
yes, I've got a lot of tables, and I'm shaping my language politely and starting with, thank you so much, and this is what I've done, or this is why I think it stands as it is. So I've got that, I think, done.
Absolutely. But so therefore, the key with making the corrections is never disagree. Never just go, you're rubbish. Go. You can't, and the students that do that, the trouble is their corrections get bounced, right? So if they go, I think you're rubbish, dude, they're an examiner, they can't be rubbish. You may disagree with them, but you have to address the correction. It may be addressing it to show why they're wrong, but you've got to address it. So use that language. Is that helping, Carolyn?
Yes, thank you, Tara. That's good.
You are amazing. Look, we'll finish off with the legendary Lorraine. Now, Lorraine, were you talking about making corrections? Where are we finishing off, Lorraine?
No, I just wanted to mention about the chapter, the numbers. So I watched one of your vlogs. Introduction is an introduction, not chapter 1, because I had my introduction is chapter 1. Then I watched your vlog, and now my literature review is chapter 1. My introduction is my introductions. I just thought I'd mention that, Carolyn.
Yeah,
it was only because of Tara's.
Yeah. I mean, Lorraine, I think I've lost that debate. It was so logical and rational that an introduction and a conclusion, they're not chapters, they're an introduction and a conclusion. Sort yourself out. It's like saying, is an apple organic matter? Well, sort yourself out, right? So, but again, the trouble is, and that's why Carolyn is probably that ship has sailed, girlfriends. So don't worry about that at this juncture. But Lorraine's absolutely right. People that are starting, intro, conclusion, chapters in the middle. And of course, if you're looking straight at Julie, if the thesis is going to become a book, you've actually prepared it to be a book as well. So you're saving time. But Anvita and Jen, ignore me if I've just destroyed your life. Have I just destroyed your life, Anvita?
No.
No.
Not yet. My introduction needs an overhaul, so it may as well become an introduction and not chapter 1.
And look, we might have a conversation about introductions next week. I'll write that one down as a possibility. Needless to say, I'll just let you know where our queries are. So we may be doing this next week, so think about it. We got queries about talking about interviews and appointment panels and questions, how to not give up when you really want to give up. We also, didn't we, Jamie, we got a query about battery hen farmers, the PhD by publication, and how you manage the pumping out of papers. So let's all have a look at Adrian going, yeah. Let's all have a think about that. And I'll leave those cards on my desk and we'll talk about them next week. So Megan, darling one, travel well. You're okay? Everything's all right?
Yeah, everything's fine. I think somebody's passed their snotty germs on to me. That would be that person sitting over there. Yes.
Hi, Paul.
Yeah, hi, Paul. Tara says, yeah.
Can I say, Megan, just to finish off in the last 20 seconds, would you like to tell everybody the amazing thing that happened yesterday?
Yes, my ethics has been returned. We're through and I can start the book club. So for all of you who are going to be joining us on book club, pick your Brené Brown title and start reading, because I want to know what you've got to say about it.
We are there. Well done, Megan. What a place to finish. So ethics is through, and that was a tough ethics, can I say. Well done, Megan.
Yeah.
Colleagues, see many of you in Right Club. Rock and roll. Adrian, stay safe, brother. You're precious to us. See you, team. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Love to Paul.